Islamabad, it is almost time for the government to make what is likely to be one of the toughest calls of its tenure, who to appoint as the next chief of Pakistan's army. A senior Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, PML-N, leader, a member of the federal cabinet, hinted in background discussions that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif could initiate discussions on the appointment by the end of August, and possibly take a decision by mid-September. The general perception is that he will consult his allies in the ruling coalition before making a final call. A source in the Pakistan People's Party, however, suggested that the party may not want to get involved as it is the Prime Minister's prerogative to make the decision. According to Article 243(3) of the Constitution, the President appoints the service's chiefs on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. 4 of the 6 top lieutenant gens at the time of Gen Bajwa's retirement will be from the same batch, while a 5th is senior to almost the entire lot. Schedule VA of the Rules of Business, which elaborates the cases to be presented to the Prime Minister for his approval, states that the appointment of, and above the rank of, Lieutenant General in the Army and equivalent ranks in the other defense services will be made by the Prime Minister in consultation with the President. The manner in which this process plays out, however, is less clearly defined in the rule books. Nor have any specific criteria been laid down for consideration for elevation, except for the vague condition that the general chosen to lead the army should have commanded a corps. The tradition is that General Headquarters, GHQ, sends a list of the 4 to 5 senior-most lieutenant generals, along with their personnel files, to the Ministry of Defense, which then forwards them to the Prime Minister to pick the officer he finds best suited to the role. Theoretically, the Defense Ministry can vet the names before presenting them to the Prime Minister, but that does not usually happen and the Ministry acts merely as a post office. The credentials of the generals are then deliberated either at Prime Minister's office or in the Cabinet. The matter comes down to the Prime Minister's informal consultation with the outgoing Army Chief, his own perceptions and his discussions with his closest advisers. Keen observers also talk about an institutional recommendation, which is given to the Prime Minister about a particular candidate. However, at least 2 former defense secretaries have rubbished this claim. They insist that it is only the outgoing Army Chief, during his informal consultation with the Prime Minister, who provides personal input on who he thinks should succeed him. Of the 10 army chiefs the country has had since 1972, 5 were appointed by the incumbent's elder brother, Mian Nawaz Sharif, in separate tenures as Prime Minister. The elder Sharif was repeatedly criticized for appointing officers he saw as an apna banda, his man. Ironically, none of the appointments worked out very well for him. The experience has reportedly left the sheriffs with the belief that they will never quite get it right. Some PML-N leaders said in background interviews that they have, therefore, more or less decided that instead of succumbing to the temptation of finding an ideal candidate, they will make the appointment based on seniority alone. Then, no matter how things turn out, we will at least be content that no personal choices were involved, one party leader said. However, another group within the party speculates that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif may simply go along with the current chief's advice. Transitioning out. Appointed in 2016, Chief of Armed Staff, COAS, General Qamar Javed Bajwa is set to retire in the last week of November. The Army Chief's appointment is meant to be for 3 years, but Gen Bajwa was given an additional 3-year term in 2019 after a bit of political drama. Then Prime Minister Imran Khan had given him an extension in August, but the Supreme Court later demanded legislation on the reappointment of the service's chiefs. Parliament complied in January 2020, allowing the Prime Minister to extend the tenure of services chiefs at his discretion. The legislation had, however, fixed 64 as the age at which a service chief must be retired. Gen Bajwa, still 61, can therefore be eligible for another term. This technicality had led to speculation that the incumbent may be seeking or interested in another extension. But according to a military source, Gen Bajwa has communicated to those around him that he will retire in November. Inter-Services Public Relations, too, has confirmed that the chief is, indeed, retiring. The Army Chiefs is not the only 4-star position that will fall vacant in November. Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, CJCSC, General Nadeem Raza will also be retiring at the same time. The simultaneous appointment of 2 4-star generals gives the government a little bit of space to pick a commander for the army without causing too much consternation among the top brass. Interestingly, 4 of the 6 senior lieutenant generals at the time of Gen Bajwa's retirement are from the same batch. The seniority of this lot is determined on a technical basis, e.a., through the PA number assigned to them from their training days at the PMA, and may or may not be of consequence when the new CJCSC and COIS are chosen. Among the other 2, one is senior to almost the entire lot, while the other one is relatively junior. Lieutenant General Asim Munir. Lieutenant General Asim Munir. At the time when the decision to appoint the next CJCSC and COIS is made, Lieutenant General Asim Munir will be the senior-most among the lot. Although he was promoted to the rank of 2-star general in September 2018, he took charge 2 months later. As a result, his 4-year tenure as Lieutenant Gen will end on November 27, around the same time when the incumbent CJCSC and COIS will be doffing their army uniform. Since the recommendations and decisions for the appointment of the 2 4-star generals are to be made a little earlier, it would be for Gen Bajwa to decide if his name is to be included and for the Prime Minister to make the final call. He is an outstanding officer, but because of the technicalities involved, he may remain the proverbial dark horse. Lieutenant Gen Munir entered the service via the Officers Training School, OTS, program in Mangla, and was commissioned into the Frontier Force Regiment. He has been a close aide of the incumbent COIS ever since he commanded troops in the Force Command Northern Areas as a brigadier under Gen Bajwa, who was then Commander Ex-Corps. He was later appointed DG Military Intelligence in early 2017, and in October next year was made the IC Chief. However, his stint as the top intelligence officer turned out to be the shortest ever, as he was replaced by Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid within 8 months, on the insistence of then Prime Minister Imran Khan. He was posted as Gujranwala Corps Commander, a position he held for 2 years, before being moved to the GHQ as Quartermaster General. Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza. Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza. In the current cohort, Lieutenant Gen Mirza is senior-most amongst the 4 candidates belonging to the same batch. He hails from the Sindh Regiment, the same parent unit as the outgoing CJCSC, General Nadeem Raza. He has had an impressive career in the army, particularly in senior leadership positions during the past 7 years. Lieutenant Gen Mirza came to prominence as Director General Military Operations, DGMO, during the last 2 years of General Raheel Sharif's tenure. In that role, he was part of Gen Sharif's core team at GHQ, which supervised the military operation against the Tehreek-i-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, and other militants in North Waziristan. Further, he was closely involved in the Quadrilateral Coordination Group, QCG, that brokered intra-Afghan talks involving Pakistan, China, Afghanistan and the United States. Besides, he was also a member of the Sartaj Aziz-led Committee on Reforms for Gilgit-Baltistan. After his promotion to the 3-star rank, he was appointed Chief of General Staff, effectively making him the second most powerful person in the army after the COIS. In that role, he was closely engaged in crucial decision-making related to national security and foreign affairs. He also joined former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi in strategic talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in 2021. In October 2021, he was posted as Corps Commander Rawalpindi to enable him to acquire operational experience and become eligible to be considered for the top posts. A military source, while commenting on his profile, said he was the clear frontrunner for either of the 2 posts of COIS and CJCSC. Lieutenant General Azhar Abbas. Lieutenant General Azhar Abbas. Lieutenant Gen Abbas is most experienced in Indian affairs among the current brass. Currently, he is the Chief of General Staff, CGS, effectively running the army with direct oversight of both operations and intelligence directorates at GHQ. Prior to that, he commanded the Rawalpindi-based but Kashmir-centric and politically significant X-Corps, which indicates that he enjoys the complete trust of the present Army Chief. It was during his time as Commander X-Corps that the Indian and Pakistani armies reached an understanding on respecting the 2003 ceasefire agreement along the Lorch, and it was Lieutenant Gen Abbas's job to ensure compliance on it. Previously, Lieutenant Gen Abbas served as Commandant of the Infantry School, Quetta. He was the personal staff officer of the former Army Chief, General Raheel Sharif, a position which gave him a ringside view of the decision-making processes at the highest level. That stint also enabled him to interact with the PML-N leadership as well as the top leadership of friendly countries. After that, he commanded the 12th Infantry Division based in Murray, from where he was responsible for Azad Jammu and Amp, Kashmir. Lieutenant General Nauman Mahmood. Lieutenant General Nauman Mahmood. Belonging to the Balak Regiment, Lieutenant Gen Mahmood is currently President of the National Defence University. He also has extensive experience as Chief Instructor at the Command and Staff College, Quetta. He has commanded an infantry division based in North Waziristan. From there, he was posted as Director General, Analysis, at the IC, playing a crucial role in foreign policy analysis from a national security perspective. That posting provided him with the opportunity of liaising with foreign intelligence agencies on behalf of the IC. On his promotion as a 3-star general in 2019, he was appointed Inspector General of Communications and AMP, Information Technology, GHQ. In December 2019, he was sent to the Peshawar-based 11 Corps. From there, he oversaw security along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border and its fencing at a time when the U.S. withdrew its forces. In November 2021, he handed over command of the 11th Corps to Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. Lieutenant Gen Hamid, too, belongs to the Balak Regiment and is one of the most widely discussed contenders among the competitors for the top office. Gen Bajwa and Lieutenant Gen Hamid have reportedly known each other for long. As Brigadier, Lieutenant Gen Hamid served as Chief of Staff of the X-Corps under Gen Bajwa, who was then commanding the Corps. At the time of Gen Bajwa's appointment as COIS, Lieutenant Gen Hamid was a 2-star general and was commanding an infantry division in Pano-Akil, Sindh. Soon after his promotion as Army Chief, Gen Bajwa posted him as Director General, Counterintelligence, at IC, where he was not only responsible for internal security, but also political affairs. After his promotion to the 3-star rank, he was initially appointed Adjutant General at the GHQ in April 2019. But only 2 months later, in a surprise move, he was appointed DGIC. In that role, Lieutenant Gen Hamid was active in supporting the government on issues as diverse as renegotiating contracts with power sector IPPs, reforming governance, and reviving the economy etc., aside from traditional foreign policy issues and national security challenges. In the last phase of his stint as head of the IC, he became focus of a controversy between Imran Khan and the COIS as the latter had decided to post him as commander of the Peshawar Corps and the former was not willing to relieve him. He was ultimately posted out to Peshawar, where he served for less than a year before being moved to the Bahawalpur Corps. Some political pundits say it might be difficult, if not impossible, for the PML-N leadership to consider him for the post of the next COIS due to the highly publicized nature of his role as IC chief during the last government's tenure. Lieutenant General Mohammed Amir. Lieutenant General Mohammed Amir. Lieutenant Gen Amir belongs to the Artillery Regiment and is, at present, commanding the 30th Corps in Gujranwala. He is considered a close confidant of Gen Bajwa. Previously, he was Adjutant General at the GHQ. As Major General, he commanded the 10 Infantry Division stationed in Lahore from 2017-18. He has also served as Director General Staff duties at the COIS Secretariat, giving him considerable experience in both GHQ and command positions. Prior to that, he was Military Secretary to then-President Asif Zardari from 2011-13. His career trajectory has brought him into close contact with the political decision-makers of today.